the vlogging cave. Let's do this. Welcome to the cabin. So, welcome to the new episode 4 already. And this episode is about how we came about to buy Wind Rose, the boat we're currently in. As I said in a previous video, where I will put a thingy somewhere, we were in the south of France when we made the decision, but we never told you how I got to the south of France and why we made the decision there. So let me take you along. I felt there was one question left. Is biking an alternative to sailing? So, this we tested. 1, 2, 3. Hij staat eigenlijk 3, 2, 1. Doei!
Doei! Hey, succes man hè? Ja. Zet hem op hè?
Heb ik nou een lekker bal? It was a fair fight because we like being active, we like being out in the open, and we actually cheated a bit with Sacha, who was our backup with the car and the dog. We had plenty of gears, we had plenty of ice, and we had an occasional challenge. Eerste berg. But the main drawbacks actually remain. You need to look for a place to sleep and a place to eat. And this was the exact thing we wanted to avoid. And the real secret is Sacha likes biking even less than sailing, especially nowadays. So the decision was actually made at the first day, I think, of the biking, but it was confirmed on the third. So that was the moment when we said, okay, we're going to go sailing, period. But truth to be told, we really loved it. The idea was that I would be going solo, and then Sacha could hop on certain stretches where land would be in sight. And this actually made that Koet for me would be a sufficient boat. I could do it with that. It needed some attention, but it would have been good. But when walking the dog and having some time to think, we actually realized something rather important. We realized that if we would turn it inside out, so Sacha not hopping on certain stretches but hopping off on certain stretches, we could actually go with the 2 of us, and actually 3 of us, because we planned the trip in such a way that if Stef wants to, after his high school, he could hop on as well. But this posed a problem clearly, because Koet was not big enough for a longer stay with the 3 of us, and then I'm not even talking about the dog. So it meant that we actually had to look for a bigger boat. And as we had cut some corners and we were earlier in the south of France than we would have been if we went biking, we actually had plenty of time to look into this. And this is what we did. We started looking at the internet. Yeah, I might have done 1 or 2 searches before, but I sorted the list on price from cheap to expensive, and what popped up? A aluminum hull. And not just a hull, it was a hull of a Koopmans seaworthy aluminum 38-foot ash bilge lifting keel with a funny dodger and some work. So having had the experience with Tamtung Priok, which by now was called Koet, we actually felt pretty confident. I'm sort of handy, so I figured I could do it. We had about 4 years, which is good. It's a fun or a good way actually to finance a project like this, because you don't have to spend all the money at once. And it would allow us, and this was the most important argument, to build it that in such a way that it would actually fit us perfectly. We felt pretty confident, so we basically said, well, let's give it a go, and sent this broker an email, and let's go for a viewing. So during the viewing and after the viewing, we actually got quite enthusiastic. The boat quality itself was very good. There was a brand new diesel engine that hadn't been used. The height of the cabin was perfect for me because I was able to stand in it, and I don't see that very often. But browsing fora and reading online and asking people, we did figure that it was a bit of a risk, because we asked some quotes, and when we kind of had all the quotes, we saw that you would get a boat that is already ready for the same amount of money, and then you could start sailing straight off. So to make this point to the seller, I actually looked up on the internet aluminum boats that look like this one that we were looking for, and sent an email to the guy saying, hey, look, you should lower your price. I actually never heard anything from him, but right after I sent the email, I thought, that's weird. This boat I've not seen before, and it's actually exactly what we're looking for. It was Wind Rose. It's a lifting keel, which basically means that you can reduce the depth to a meter, which is very handy because we need to sail the Markermeer and the IJsselmeer, which are not that deep. It's an S-bilge, which means that at sea it has a certain behavior which we really like. It's slowish. It's aluminum, which we like. Last but not least, it's a Koopmans, and we don't know yet where we're going, but a Koopmans is known for its seaworthiness. So all in all, it felt like the perfect boat, and we actually found her. And the fun fact was that it was built by the same builder, but this time it was his own boat. When we visited the boat, it was as with Tanjung Priok in the time, Kut. It was basically love at first sight. I vividly remember that we drove back, and I don't think we said anything for the first 10 minutes. But after 10 minutes, we basically said, well, if we are serious about this, this is the boat. This is the boat that we need to do what we want to do. So coming home, thinking more about it, discussing, calculating, and actually negotiating, we decided that if we would find a price, we would go for a test sail. So this is what we did. We found a price where we agreed upon, and we went for a test sail.
We gaan even een proefvaart maken vandaag. En dat vind ik in ieder geval heel spannend. En Sacha vindt het ook leuk. En we komen bij jullie terug hoe het was.
Hoe is het dan nu? Kijk eens in de camera.
Hoe is het nu? Ik zit in een bocht op de A10. Dus hoe het nu is dat ik aan het sturen ben. Hoe is het nu? Het is alles en niks. Het is uit je comfortzone in de turbulentie. Dat is wat het is.
Dat is het IJsselmeer. En hierachter ligt de Waddenzee. Het is een beetje ons voorland. We gaan hier beginnen. We gaan beginnen bij Durgedam met ons nieuwe schip. We staan bij Cornelis Lely. Die had ook een idee. Daar staan we nu op. Maar ik denk dat wij een nieuw schip gekocht hebben. Doei! Lange filmpjes vinden mensen niet leuk, maar ze willen wel weten hoe het voelt. Gekocht! We hebben een boot gekocht! Ah! So after preparing about 10 years, we decided that Wind Rose was to be our boat. It was perfect in any way. But clearly it's not a piece of loaf that you kind of buy at the bakery. So we had to do a technical inspection to check if the boat was as advertised, which is what you normally do.
We gaan vandaag ons schip laten keuren door Arno van Vuren van Blue Lake Marine of Lagoon of zoiets. Sorry Arno, ik moet het nog even opzoeken voor je. Maar we hebben er vol vertrouwen in. Harry gaat voor 100 punten. Nou, wij ook natuurlijk. En als we 100 punten hebben, dan hebben we een fantastisch schip gekocht. We hebben allebei om verschillende redenen volgens een knoop in onze maag. Want ja, het is nogal niet wat. Maar we hebben er wel super veel zin in. Dus vandaag wordt een bijzondere dag. We laten het weten aan het einde wat het geworden is.
So we started off with an engine test of about 45 minutes because we had to go on motor to the place where she would be hauled out. So before we hauled her out, there was time to test the sails, the standing and the running rigging, everything on top of the deck basically, and there was also time to check everything below. Final part of the inspection, everything below the waterline. The prop shaft, rudder and the hull. The hull they measured and checked it by knocking on it.
Ziet er niet zo heel veel, maar ze is er wel.
Oh ja, ze is er wel. Aan de
Ze
zijde.
is er wel. Ze is erbij.
When the boat was back in the water, basically the conclusion from the guy who tested it was that all was good. And this was one of the terms to continue the purchase. We basically bought the boat. And we had pie. Yay! So now the fun part comes. You probably think that we were super excited, right? Actually, we weren't. This is such a major event that we just didn't comprehend it fully. Let me show you what we said back then.
Zo gaar als een kanariepietje zijn we. En de conclusie is, we moeten het schip ons eigen maken. Ik denk dat wat uit de keuring kwam, is dat er niks uitkwam. Wat kleine puntjes waar even naar gekeken moet worden. Nou, ik verwacht niet dat we daar niet uitkomen. Dus dat betekent dat we een nieuw schip hebben. Dat we... tja, dat dus. Dus redelijk op ben ik zelf. Van de energie die erin gegaan is. Maar het is een prachtig schip. En ik denk dat we er heel veel mooie momenten mee gaan hebben. En dat denkt Sacha ook, ondanks dat hij ook gaar is. Dus ja, jezus, we hebben een nieuw schip.
A year after all these events, I now know that we made the right decision. We're sitting in Wind Rose, we're vlogging, we're living it, we're doing it. But back then, the only thing that we needed to do was pick her up. And that became memorable in itself. Due to the fact that it was the first time that we sailed her alone. But also due to a low that was in the weather patterns that changed not that much compared to what we thought it would change. So the first trip was really quite a thing. More on that in the next vlog. Hit subscribe if you like it. Give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment as you please. Hope to see you there. And thank you for watching for this time.
Best wel een beetje een vreemd gevoel eigenlijk. Want we zijn hier natuurlijk al 10 jaar mee bezig. Ik zat gisteren met James, mijn grote vriend uit Seattle. Die zei ook van ja, you've been planning this man, working towards it. En dat is het wel. Dat is gewoon, weet je, fuck yeah, zoveel stapjes gezet al. Zoveel gedaan al. En vandaag gewoon een grote stap. Nadat we weer begonnen zijn met sparen om het gewoon te doen. We hebben het schip gekocht. En we gaan gewoon een nieuwe fase van ons leven inluiden. Ha. Jongens. Echt, ja. Je moet er toch maar wat van maken, hè. Als jij het niet doet, wie doet het dan? Dus daar gaan we.